Hey everyone, I'm Lloyd, and this channel is all about making your home smart using Apple HomeKit. But what about the devices that are not compatible with HomeKit yet? Maybe you want a robot vacuum? Unfortunately, there aren't any that natively support HomeKit. Or maybe you're using Google or Alexa, and you're just starting to see the HomeKit light, but you don't want to have to rebuild your smart home from scratch. This is where Hoobs can save the day. I promise, it's easier than you think, but there are some things that you need to know. Hoobs stands for Homebridge out-of-box system. I like to keep things simple, so I have the Hoobs box, which basically just plugs into the router and has Homebridge installed. I want to thank Hoobs for sending this to me to test out for you. Homebridge is a bridge between HomeKit and other smart home devices. The Homebridge website says, bringing HomeKit support to where there is none. Homebridge allows you to integrate with smart home devices that do not natively support HomeKit. There are over 2,000 Homebridge plugins supporting thousands of different smart accessories. You can also see a list of some of the most common plugins that are available, including Nest, Ring, and MyQ, just to name a few. Homebridge is an open source system that allows developers to create plugins for various devices so that you can bring them into HomeKit. This isn't official, of course, since the devices that you'd be bringing into HomeKit aren't officially supported by Apple, so just be aware of this. Hoobs sells 3 different products. The box is $219 Canadian, which I have here. This is version 4. And there's also an SD card that sells for $24.99, so you could use that to help set up your own Raspberry Pi if that's the way you want to go. Raspberry Pi, by the way, is a low-cost credit card-sized computer that plugs into a monitor or TV and uses a standard keyboard and mouse. Lastly, and most cost-effective, there's simply a Hoobs image that can be flashed to your own micro SD card, which is free, though they do accept donations, with a suggested price of $10. Buying native is great, and hopefully with Matter this process will get easier. But not every device is likely to be Matter certified, and it's unclear how long it'll take for companies to adapt. Before you decide to purchase Hoobs, you can visit their website to view all of their plugins so you can see what's supported and what's not. Keep in mind though that just because there's a plugin doesn't mean it will work or that you'll have access to all of the available features for that product. When you can, look for plugins that say certified, since it's a pretty safe bet that those ones will work. If there isn't a certified plugin, then just check the reviews and look to see how old the plugin is and how often it's being updated. One of the reasons I wanted Hoobs was because I really wanted to take advantage of some of the cool Switchbot accessories. You've probably heard of Switchbot, best known for making curtains smart. But they also make a bot that can press a button to make devices like light switches, coffee makers, and other appliances smart. Many of the Switchbot accessories are compatible with Siri shortcuts, and today I'll show you how to get these devices into HomeKit using a Hoobs plugin. Switchbot also makes motion sensors, a door and window sensor, indoor cameras, a temperature and humidity sensor, and a humidifier, just to name a few. Stay tuned because I have a discount code that can save you 35% off your order until November 29th. The other reason I wanted Hoobs was so I could install some dummy switches, meaning a virtual switch to trigger an action in HomeKit. Here's an example of what I mean. Inside my pantry are 2 Philips Hue bulbs that are triggered when the door opens or closes. When I open the door, the lights turn white, and when closed, it goes dark during the day and purple at night, which fits my evening lights. With the holiday season, I wanted to use the virtual switch to change my lights red in the evening. Instead of redoing my existing automations, I can make it conditional so that it only goes purple if my holiday dummy switch isn't on. Otherwise, it'll turn red. This could work for any of your scenes. All you need to do is include the dummy switch into a scene and make your primary automation conditional on those dummy switches being turned off. Hopefully that makes sense, but if you have any questions, then let me know in the comments. So let's take a closer look at Hoobs and see what comes in the box and how to get it set up. As you can see, the contents are pretty simple. There's the Hoobs box itself, which you can see is actually pretty small, so it won't take up a lot of room. You also get a Getting Started booklet that will walk you through the steps of the installation. Then there's a power brick, an Ethernet cord, and a micro USB cord. To begin setup, scan the QR code on the Getting Started booklet. First is installing the hardware. There are 2 ways to connect your Hoobs box. You can connect the hardware into your router or connect using Wi-Fi. Connecting directly to your router will give you the best connection, so this is what I did and what I recommend. Plug the network cable into the router, connect your power cable, and that's basically it. The last step really confused me because it said there should be a solid red light after 2 to 3 minutes once the Hoobs box had fully booted. But apparently these images are out of date since there's no longer a solid red light. If you choose to connect using Wi-Fi, then you simply connect to power and then connect to the Hoobs Wi-Fi within your iPhone settings. I tested this out as well, and it's literally as easy as it sounds. Once the hardware is connected, then you can either download the Hoobs desktop app or head on over to hoobs.local in your web browser where you can set up an account. Once I got into the interface, I was like, okay, what do I do now? I've watched others set this up before, and there's usually a code to scan in order to bring Hoobs into HomeKit, but I found out that that's no longer the case. You simply add the bridge that you're looking for and it'll come into HomeKit automatically. So it's actually even easier than it was before. There isn't too much to the interface. You'll start in the dashboard, and this is where you can see your system status, and there's some customization options such as adding weather information. You can also include some of your favorite accessories on the dashboard as well. Accessories is where you can see all of the accessories that have been installed in Hoobs. To keep it organized, you can place them in different rooms. Logs could be used for troubleshooting, and I have no idea what any of this means, and that's okay. It could be helpful information for a developer, but you can just ignore it. Under profiles, you can see the profile that you created and add additional profiles if needed. Then I can see the bridges that I've installed with the QR codes that are used to bring them into HomeKit. Then there are plugins. You can see all the plugins that you've installed under library, and this is where you can find accessories that you want to add. It's actually pretty simple. You just need to find the plugin for the accessory. Since I'm looking for Switchbot, I can just put that in the search. You'll notice there are several plugins, but since there's a certified plugin, that's the one that I want to use. Here I can see what Switchbot accessories are supported and how to configure the plugin. This tells me that the humidifier, meter, curtain, and bot are all supported with this plugin. Once installed, you need to follow the instructions to configure the plugin, which in this case involves creating a Switchbot account, generating a token, then entering that token into the configuration. If I click on bridges, I can now see a Switchbot bridge with a code for adding that into HomeKit, where I should then be able to see compatible Switchbot accessories within the Home app, as well as here in Hoobs under the accessories page. So you just need to follow a similar process for any devices that you want to bring within Hoobs. Hi, it's Brad from the future. After I installed the certified Switchbot plugin, I realized they didn't work like they were supposed to. The bots, for example, while I could see them in HomeKit, they didn't do anything when I turned them on and off. So I ended up uninstalling those plugins, and I found a different plugin that actually works much better. And not only does it work, but it actually has more compatible accessories like the Switchbot motion sensor and the Switchbot door and window sensor. So I wanted to mention this because although these certified plugins are a great place to start, they're not always going to work best. So feel free to play around with the different plugins and find out what works best for the devices that you're trying to bring from Hoobs into HomeKit. I've also downloaded the dummy plugin that I mentioned earlier. This is really helpful for creating conditional automations like the example of my pantry that I discussed earlier. This is another certified plugin, and so far it's worked great for me, and it'll save me from having to buy so many smart plugs. For someone like me that doesn't do coding and just wants the easiest possible solution, then aside from buying something that's certified to work in HomeKit, this is really a great solution. It's definitely not as simple as buying a device, scanning the code, and bam, it's in HomeKit. There are a few additional steps involved, but I think it's something that I think anyone can do without a lot of effort. I'm gonna have a video coming out soon that will go more in depth into the Switchbot products that I've talked about today, so watch out for that video once it comes out. And don't forget about the promo code to save an additional 35%. The links and promo code are in the description. This is a great chance to stock up on some cool smart home tech for the holidays, and of course, a link to the Hoobs box will be there as well. That's it for this week's video. If you have any questions or any tips that you want to share, then feel free to leave a comment. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll talk to you soon.